basis. Okay. So with that note, I'll just start sharing my screen once so that we can take it up with a basic introduction of the ERP. So let me put up my screen. Okay. So you can let me know once you're able to see this. Can anyone confirm that you're able to see the screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Thank you, Lavanya. Okay. All right. So I was talking about the ERP application, right? So ERP application is basically it's called Enterprise Resource Planner. Let me just try to hide this. Okay. So ERP, right? So which is called Enterprise Resource Planner, we can call it. So basically, if you assume, right, because it's completely on a real-time basis, how we can understand it, because that's when you can easily relate on how exactly the application works. Let's say that, you are working in one of the company. Maybe you might be working in some of the company right now, right? So I'll just take an example that there is a company which is called Infosys. Okay. So let's assume this Infosys has got established in, let's say 1996. And since 1996 or till date, let's say there were around 20,000 employees. It could be even beyond this number, but let's assume that this is what the number right now in the Infosys. From 1996 till today, so it could be the people who already left from Infosys who are currently working, together we can call them as 20,000 employees. So in old generation, right, we don't have the ERP applications. At the time when we don't have the ERP applications, so they used to maintain the employees data because this ERP application is mainly focusing on the ERP, basically the employees information, right? For example, let's say employees personal, because in order to run a company and in order to maintain some basic information about the employee to use it for multiple purposes, so you have to store each and every detail of an employee. So when we say personal information, it could be their name, their date of birth, their present address, permanent address, and their phone numbers, emails. It could be their marital status, each and every detailing of an employee, and it could be their gender, their visa information, driver's license. There are plenty of informations against the personal information of each employee, right? So including their national identifiers, which we can call it as, we have Aadhaar or PAN card. Also for US, we do have SSN, which is the Social Security number. So each of this information is, will come under the personal information. So as an ERP application, we can store every of this information into the ERP. Is anyone trying to say something? Okay. All right. So it's not only the personal information when it comes to the employees' data, it could be also their work-related information, right? So when we say work-related information, it could be like what exactly that job that they are performing in the company, and which department that they are belonging to, and who is the manager for that employee. And it could be like so which work location that they're working in, what is the country. There will be, and what about the work timings, right? So even there are plenty of other information which can come under work related info and salary, their timesheets and absence. So when we say absence, it could be their leave entries, like how many days that they have taken the leave. So when I'm explaining this complete information against employees, so the basic thing what I'm trying to explain here is, so as an ERP application, because there are so many ERP applications right now in the market. So when I talk about that, so you can see pretty much most of these are current trending, or I would say the famous ERP providers, right, which worked out very well in the past couple of years. But not only this, there are so many other ERP providers also in the market, right? So all these different ERP providers, so basically can store all of this information. Okay. So this is the information pretty much related to the employee. So as an ERP, it's not only the employee's data, so it can also stores the company's information. So when I say company's information, like, so when it got established, right? Also, in how many countries that this is getting operated, and how many locations in each country, and what is the address in each location. So when it comes to the company, there could be several information that we can store, including their financial related information, like, costing for each employee, what is the costing that's happening in the system, in that particular organization. So pretty much every information against employee, against the company, so we can store it in the ERP application. So that is just a background of what an ERP application can do. Okay. So as I said, in the market, we have so many ERP providers. So when you talk about EBS, which is also one of the Oracle application, and we have this Oracle Fusion application, which is completely cloud-based. Okay. And Talio, SAP, PeopleSoft. So all these are the ERP providers. But the main difference comes here. So before this ERP application came into the picture, so they are actually kind of maintaining the data in the sort of Excels, which are called flat files, right? So Excel files, and some people, they were storing the information into the files, or they are maintaining their own private servers, which we can call it as on-premise database, right? Don't worry about these terminologies that I'm talking about. Just try to understand the concept what I'm explaining. So when we say on-premise database, so which means the company is maintaining their own data servers. So which means, like, every information that they are storing against the employee or against the company, so they are storing in their own data servers, and they have to maintain the security for that, because the data breach shouldn't be happening. And also whenever there is a latest upgrade, so everything has to be maintained by that particular organization itself. So no one else is going to maintain that. So some team has to be maintaining in that same company. So, but when it comes to the cloud, which is the recent technology for the past couple of, I think for the past decade, which is going on. So let's assume our Oracle Fusion application itself, right? Oracle Fusion, HCM, and this is what we are going to focus mainly about. So this is one of the cloud application. So when I say cloud application, as a company, let's assume the same company, Infosys. So in 2016, let's assume in 2016, so I decided to go into cloud application. So I decided that I want to purchase a license for one of the ERP, so which will reduce some work for me and maintain everything by the company itself, not by Infosys, but by the company who is providing me that ERP tool, because that will reduce so much of work for the Infosys to maintain this data security, upgrades, all those things, right? Because always this data service has to be maintained properly in order to maintain the security for that, also to maintain the latest upgrades so that the user-friendly tools will be applicable to the users. There are several factors to it. So let's assume that in 2016, Infosys decided to purchase the license for Oracle Fusion HCM. So I'll just give you the background of how exactly this purchasing of license and why they will go for the cloud application, and what are all the factors they have to think through in order to purchase the license. All these things will just touch base, so that we can understand in the off cycle how exactly this purchasing of license. Because see, we might know when you are working in a project, so what are all the things that you are working, you might be knowing about that. But the background things which are happening from a company standpoint, so many people are not aware how exactly this project bidding happens, or how exactly the license purchasing happens, right? So many people doesn't know about those things. So let's touch base about those things so that we can also understand and link to the work that we are doing, right, or we are going to do in the future. Okay. So because let's say if Infosys has to maintain their own data servers, they have to maintain a team separately, and they have to ensure the data security is up to date, so that no employees information or salary information is getting leaked to the outside, right? So sometimes it will be difficult for some of the companies. So at that time, they can go to these cloud applications. And let's assume that Infosys is purchasing a license for Oracle Fusion HCM. So what will happen at that time if they are going for the cloud? So Oracle will take care of the complete data, I would say data, right? So when it comes to the data, maintaining the data and applying the data security for it, and applying the latest upgrades to it, to the application. So everything will be maintained by Oracle itself. So as an Infosys, head, maybe I'll purchase the license for it, and then I'll start using the application. Once every setup is done, I'll start using the application, and in the background, my entire data will be maintained by Oracle. And obviously, Oracle is a well-known company for its security, for its branding and everything. So I can trust Oracle and provide my data to them so that they can keep it in a safe data servers place. So that is a major thing that a company can do, so that that can reduce so many things from company standpoint, and Oracle will take care of that completely. So that is one reason. So the other reason, this particular application is very user friendly. Right now, there are so many applications where you might be seeing like SAP, the interface of that application, might not be looking that user friendly. Because right now, if I don't know anything about Oracle Fusion HCM and I am getting into one of the login, right? Let's say that I'm just showing you this screen so that you can understand. So the screen which you are seeing here is actually Oracle Fusion HCM application login. Okay, some demo login that I'm having. So I'm just getting into this application. So demo instances will be a little slow. Okay. Yeah. So this is an implementation user login. So which means it's like a super user admin kind of thing. So that, that they will have so much of access here. So that is the reason you're seeing so many tabs and different tiles over here, right? But let's say as an employee, if I'm just logging in, I'll not be having this much of access. So I'll be just having me section if I'm just an employee. So when I see this personal information tile, as an employee, I can easily understand, okay, this is something related to my own personal information. And this is something related to my own salary information, my performance info, my learning, my absence info, right? So when I open this, the kind of view how I get is also kind of a little user-friendly information. Okay. So that is the reason why so many users are getting adapted to this application, because it is a global application. It's not only dedicated to a specific country. It's a global application, which means whatever the country that you are in, some of the settings in this are getting auto applied based on your country, local time system and everything, right? Now let me just go back here. So it's a user friendly tool. And also the other beauty for this Oracle Fusion HCM is reports and analytics. So this is also one of the very important aspect from a company standpoint, because let's say Infosys is having 20,000 employees, and out of 20,000, let's say 10,000 people are currently active. Currently active on 10,000, they are already left from the organization. And I'll tell you the reason why this reports analytics is really important for any of the company. So let's say the company wants to analyze on how exactly that, how exactly people are leaving from the organization and what is the reason behind it and how frequently they are leaving from the company, so that they can actually create a plan, form a plan so that they can retain the employees by, it could be by discussing with them about their reason, whatever, it could be their compensation reason, right? So that they can have a discussion around that and they can try to retain the employee if that employee is really worthful. So if it is some other reasons, maybe they are getting a better opportunity, better exposure, so that Infosys can improvise on that particular areas. So that is the reason what HR people can do, they can get a report from the system out of, based on the list of all inactive employees and when exactly they got terminated or they got, what do you say, resigned from the company and what is the reason behind it. So with this information, HR or HR team can easily analyze on how frequently these resignations are happening, right? It's not only that. I can also get a report of all the active employees and how many people in this active employees are the managers and how many people's performance rating is low, how many people's have completed their goals. It could be any information against the employee, and I can figure out how many people are staying in Bangalore or Chennai, Hyderabad, different locations. So that is the reason these reports analytics are really important from company standpoint to analyze on different factors. And Oracle Fusion HCM gives its best in the terms of reports analytics, because you can create the dashboards Now, when I say dashboards, it's a kind of graphical representation of the data, right? So, and there are so many analysis, reports, different sort of things that you can perform in Oracle Fusion. Okay. So these are main factors, but there are so many other factors like cost of the license, right? So generally what will happen when we talk about the licensing, right? So if you are purchasing something, there will be some fixed cost to it, like some $250 or $300 in terms of the license cost, right? But this Oracle Fusion HCM is slightly different. So based on the number of users in your company, you have to pay the amount. For example, my company is, let's say, startup company, and I'm having just 200 to 300 employees. So my licensing cost will be according to that particular users list. But when it comes to the Infosys, because it's having 20,000 and currently 10,000 are active, so the cost will be applied for these 10,000 employees. That licensing cost is completely getting deferred based on the user that particular organization is having, like not having a standard cost for everyone. So that, that is also some kind of an option that companies will be looking into, because they have to purchase the license, obviously based on some factors. And this is one of the factor in it. And there are so many other factors why they'll go into Oracle Fusion HCM, but these are the main ones, I would say. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll just take a quick pause, because we are going to get into the next, how exactly this project bidding happens. Because before you understand about Oracle Fusion HCM and try to understand what's inside the application, first you should understand how exactly this project will come to a company, so that you will be getting hired to that company to work on that application, right? The background thing is really important for you to understand, so that you can relate to that. So I'll just take a quick pause to see if anyone is having any confusion so far about the ERP application or anything else what we have discussed so far. Anyone? All right. Uh, if nothing else, I'll just proceed. But yeah, anyway, the session is getting recorded. If you want to rewind the session and listen to it to understand better, you can always do that. Okay. Now, what we will do before we get into the project bidding explanation of that, let's get into one of the PPT which was designed, and I'll just give a quick walkthrough in this. Okay. So as we have just spoken about the ERP application, let's understand from a theoretical standpoint on how exactly, pretty much we have discussed everything what is there in this presentation, but let's go through a theoretical way of explaining this. So ERP is a process used by companies to manage and integrate the important parts of their business. So when I say important parts, so one is their salary information, and it could be their financial information, like how much the company is spending, how much they are getting profited, or whatever the loss. So it could be different sort of business parts, right? So many ERP software applications are important to companies, because so they help them implement resource planning by integrating all of the process needed to run companies with a single system. Because one ERP application can withhold every information against the company, against the employee. All this information can be stored in one single system, which is called an ERP system, right? And an ERP software system can also integrate planning, purchasing, inventory. All these things are modules, we can call it. So one ERP application can be having multiple modules, because so that is the kind of structure how Oracle is designed. When it comes to personal information and employment, like work related information, all these things are getting stored in the core HR module, which is global human resource, global HR, different terms we have. And when it comes to your leave information, like how much balance of sick leaves you're having, how much you have utilized, all this information is getting stored in the absence management module, and your timesheets in the time and labor module. So we do have different modules divided based on the data, so that we can anyway discuss in detail. But yeah, even this planning, purchasing, inventory, all these things are related to the company's level information, like sales, marketing, right? So yeah, an ERP system can have all this information integrated with each other. When I say integrated, basically sending the data to from one module to other module, right? Pretty much this explains the same. ERP solutions have evolved over the years, yes. And many are now typically web-based applications that users can access remotely. And this is one important point that we need to understand. So, to access this Oracle Fusion HCM, you don't need to install any software. Okay. If I take an example, right, the way how you access your Gmail. So if you want to access your Gmail, what is that you need? You just need a system with a proper network connection, and you can open up the gmail.com, right? Similarly, google.com or Facebook, anything, all these things you can access in the web directly in the Chrome or Mozilla or anything else, right? As long as you have a proper network connection. So similarly, this Oracle Fusion HCM is also the same. So you will be just having an URL, like when I say the URL, it's basically this. So this is the URL that I was referring to. So every company will have a unique URL given by Oracle. And this URL is used by the employees, by the users to log in into the application. So that's what you need. So you just need a URL and your login credential. That's it. You can log in from anywhere in the world. Now let's go back. And the next thing is, just a minute. Okay, yeah. And the other thing is an ERP systems can be ineffective if a company doesn't implement it carefully. Obviously, this is just a generic point. So an ERP is a very powerful tool. So as long as you're able to implement and do the setups properly. So that's just a generic statement you can ignore. And these are some of the core process needed to run a company like finance, HR, manufacturing, and obviously based on that company's category. So if I am into automobiles, so I might be needing the manufacturing, finance, obviously supply chain and procurement to maintain that complete inventory, all those things, all these things is needed. So similarly, for any other industry, some of these are called core process, which are needed to run a company. Okay. So you don't need to remember any of this, just understand the concept that we are explaining right now. So they provide visibility, analytics, and efficiency across every aspect of a business. So when I say visibility, analytics, and efficiency, so I was mainly referring to the reports and analytics. So let's say that Infosys is having 10,000 active employees right now. As an HR, you can't go into each employee's data to figure out where exactly this employee is located or what is the permanent address for this employee, right? So you can't go to each and every employee's record. So instead, what we can do, so we can generate a report from the system in some sort of Excel or something else. So in that way, you can get an Excel sheet out of, with a list of 10,000 employees and their information related to their permanent address, their phone details, and everything else, whatever that HR is required. So in that, you can just filter out and whatever the analysis that you want to do, you can always do, right? So that will give a great visibility and efficiency across every aspect of the business. So using the latest technologies, ERP systems facilitate the flow of real-time information across departments. So when we say real-time information, it's basically the live information right now. It could be any change which is happening across the company. For example, let's say that there is an employee who is moving from Bangalore to Hyderabad. So that information will be getting stored in the system immediately so that that information will get circulated across different modules. Because let's say that you're right now in India and you are moving to US. So when you move to the US, some of your leave categories are not applicable in the US as you are in India. Maybe earned leave, sick leave, or bereavement leave, right? Let's say that there are few things which are not applicable in US when we compare with India, obviously the other way. So US are having some extra leaves which are not applicable in India. So based on your current country where you are working, the leave options has to be changed accordingly, right? So that real-time information is always, available in the system, and that will send that information to other modules as well, so that every module is up to date and it will have the real-time information all the time. So business can make data-driven decisions and manage performance. Obviously, when you have the real-time data, then only the business can make a proper decisions on figuring out how many people are currently in US, India. Maybe based on that, they can form a plan if they want to shift someone from India to US, US to India, right? So all these decisions they can only take when they have the proper real-time data in their hands. So the benefits pretty much what we have discussed already. And ERP system examples, we have seen some of the ERP systems which are currently available. So all these things are the ERP providers. So that's pretty much on a basic theoretical way of explaining what we have discussed already in the sort of here, right? So we kind of touch based till how exactly a company can purchase its license based on what different factors. Okay. So let's see. So Infosys purchased Oracle Fusion HCM license in 2016. Okay. But this is established since 1996. So when Infosys is reaching out to Oracle, so initially what will happen? Oracle sales team will be giving them a demo. Will be giving Infosys a demo saying that so my application can do this. This is a user friendly. So all the factors what a company needs so will be explained by Oracle sales team. And then based on that, Infosys, let's say, decided to purchase the Oracle Fusion HCM and it's purchased the license. So after that, so Infosys might not be aware of the complete Oracle Fusion HCM technicalities, right? It might know the background of what exactly it can do, but not each and every detail on how to do the setup of this application. Because when you get a license, so basically Oracle will provide you the URL, something like this, right? So they will give you the URL and the application comes up like this. But every company might be having different setup information for them. Let's say Infosys, they want to redesign this application slightly, like they want to have Infosys logo here. They want to have a background with a different, their companies, there will be some colors for each company, right? So something with that. And they want some font difference, customizations and their company's information to be getting stored. Each and every information, like every setup that they want to do. Obviously, like no one in the Infosys would be knowing initially, right? So at that time, what will happen? So Infosys will reach out to some of the implementation providers in the market. Okay. So this is how the project bidding happens. Understand this, very clearly so that you can understand on how exactly the projects come to the companies. Okay. Because right now in Infosys, when they got the license in 2016, so they don't have a team who can actually implement Oracle Fusion HCM for them. So what they will do, they will reach out to implementation providers in the market. Okay. And then they will go for a bidding. Basically, let's say there are multiple ABC, XYZ, or let's say some TCS, IBM, right? Let's assume that we have currently 4 different implementation providers right now, which means these 4 companies have a team who can actually implement Oracle Fusion HCM. It could be for any company, right? They can implement Oracle Fusion HCM. So when I say implement, they can actually do the complete setup based on Infosys requirement, based on that particular company's requirement. Okay. So what will happen out of all these 4? What exactly, which implementation provider that Infosys should go for, how it can be decided. So again, different factors comes into the picture here. So one is how long this company is performing implementations. So I'm just giving you some high level points here, and there will be several other factors that company is looking to decide the implementation providers, but these are some high level things. So obviously the company has to be well known for its implementations. And let's say the project cost and the team size. Let's say how many certified members are available in that company. And the timelines. In what timelines that they can implement our particular project. Uh, so it could be, let's say, high level, these factors are currently applicable, right? So all these factors they will look into, with these 4 different implementation providers. And let's say that, IBM is really performing its implementations really good with a team of all the certified members in it. And they have some proper structure in the team. Let's say, they'll be having a project lead and then team lead, functional consultant, technical consultant. I'm just giving you a standard structure in a company, but it could vary from the company to company. You don't need to kind of remember like what exactly the kind of structure we need here. And then let's say business analyst, There could be one more which will come in between, like solution architect. There could be several roles in a project that, when a project is getting started. So some of the companies will look for all these roles. Someone has to be at the top of the project who can actually manage everything in the project, and someone who can manage the internal work in the team, like team lead, and functional consultant, technical consultant. These two are the major things that we are going to discuss in Oracle Fusion, because people who are working in Oracle Fusion are majorly classified into these two, and combinedly we can call them as techno-functional as well. If someone is working really good in both the areas, we can call them as techno-functional consultant, the way how I am working right now. So it's been almost 7+ years that I am into Oracle Fusion HCM. So initially I was working in technical, and then I got myself into functional. So I kind of led multiple projects so far, and I did the implementation, support, everything. So right now I can call myself as a techno-functional because I'm able to perform in both the areas, right? And someone who understands the requirements from the business, like business analyst. So whenever they get a requirement, they will analyze and they will give us the requirements. And someone who is called as a solution architect is basically someone who provides a solution or design to the application. So this is a standard kind of roles what we'll be having in a project, but obviously it gets differed. Sometimes only functional and technical will completely, take over the project, based on different company structure. So let's say IBM is performing its really implementations. They are doing really good, and the project cost, let's say, I know obviously it can't be less when we compare with other companies because it's a well-known company, reputed company, right? From it was established a long ago. Their reputation is also really good, and the structure is good. Team size, certified members, timelines is also okay. Like they said that they will implement within like 4 months. So considering all these factors, so Infosys will decide implementation provider. Let's assume that they are going with IBM. Okay. So whenever they decide that IBM will be my implementation provider, what will happen? Infosys will provide this Oracle Fusion project and the access to IBM team members. Okay. So from there on, the project get happens. So after that, it's a routine thing. Let's say that you learned Oracle Fusion HCM and you are giving your interviews, and IBM might be offering some vacancies for a new project. Okay. They got a new project and they want to hire some of the technical consultants or functional consultants for a new project. Let's assume Infosys is the project. Okay. So from then on, our life cycle starts. So we'll be getting into the interview, and let's say that we are getting selected there and we are getting into the project. From there on, we have to start working in the application. Okay. It could be we will be working on setting up the company's information, like how many countries that company is being, operated at, and what kind of different divisions that they are in. Like, for example, Tata, I'm just going with Tata. Let's say Tata is, having different divisions. Let's say they are into automobiles, manufacturing, chemicals, IT services. There are several other things that Tata is also getting operated, right? So then I just, yeah, okay. So this is that top level company, and these are called divisions, right? In which are all the different categories that company is being operated. And in each category or classification, so which are all the countries available? Let's say automobiles, Tata Automobiles is available in India, UK, US. And manufacturing, let's say it's only in India. Chemicals may be US and UK. And IT, let's say UAE, Iran, Mexico, Italy, right? There are different things. So this is how the basic structure will be available, right? Top level company, there are different divisions and different countries. Again, in each country, different locations, departments, right? In India, we'll be having different locations again. Noida, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, different other things. So similarly, in UK also we might be having London, and US it might be New York, New Jersey. So all these kind of different classifications will be available in a proper enterprise structure. Okay. So that is where I was saying. So whenever this project is given to some implementation provider, so that is when our employees life cycle starts. So you'll be getting hired into the project and you are given with some work to perform. in the application. Okay. So that is on a high level how exactly the kind of background stuff happens, like ERP and how a company purchases a license for the ERP and what is the need for that, and how the project is given to some company and what are the different factors that we need to look into, and how exactly our employees life cycle starts from there. Okay. So that's the kind of overview. Any questions so far? Any confusions that you guys are into, or any understanding that you are missing from here?
Hi, Bhavan.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Actually, you said about technical consultant and functional consultant, right?
Yes.
How do they differ their work? Like, technical person will be worked on these areas, and functional person would cover these.
Yeah. So I'll give you a basic difference between these two categories. I was anyway coming into that topic only. Uh, so when we say functional consultant, right? So it's basically the people who works mainly on the UI. So when I say UI, it could be setting up any information in this particular user interface, or let's say implementing a new feature which is given by Oracle in the latest updates, or let's say some HR is having some issue in the system. Now, mainly they will work on the setups on the UI or any other new implementations that they are having into the system. But when it comes to technical, so they're going to mainly work with the database, right? So let's say, as I said, 10,000 employees, and if I want a report for all the 10,000 employees with their basic information, like their gender, date of birth, all this, so I can give that requirement to a technical consultant who can write a SQL. So basic SQL is really enough for to create a reports here, right? So that requirement can be given to a technical consultant who can actually create a report with the SQL by querying the database and getting it in the form of Excel. So that all this will be taken care by the technical consultant. And we do have some segregation based on different concepts as well. Of when you see the functional, right, they will understand the business and they will deal with the clients directly. Majority of the companies will not allow the technical guys to deal with the clients. Mainly the functional people will be dealing with the clients directly, like getting the requirements and explaining them that this is possible and this is not possible. We have to make sure that we are explaining this to the client. So that will be the major difference. But yes, there are so many concepts which are mainly differed between functional and technical, which we anyway discuss once we are getting into the main training sessions. But that's on a high level, Ashwin.
Okay, all right, Bhavan. But here we're going to focus on functional first, right?
Yes, mainly on the functional first, and because in order to work in the technical, you need to get the basic understanding of the functional. That is for sure.
Oh, fine, fine.
Yeah,
Thanks, Bhavan.
yeah, perfect. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm assuming that's a no. So that's on a high level, and let me just show you on a high level how exactly this is going to be designed. So you can see the functional concepts, technical concepts are here. So when I say concept, you don't need to worry much about that. It's just a basic part of that particular application, which we are going to discuss in detail anyway. And these are some basic SQL concepts that we need when you want to work in the technical. And if I just give you some basic ratio of how exactly this functional and technical will be in the project. So let me just give you that understanding. So let's say there is a project, okay? And if a project is having two functional consultants, basically they might be having some four technical resources. Obviously, it's based on the size of the company. If there are like more than 20,000, 30,000 employees, they would need some sort of this number, this size of the team, right? Which means functional consultants will be in the less number most of the projects, and technical will be a little high. So which means there are so many vacancies will be available for the technical consultants. But when it comes to the functional consultants, the demand will be high because they are going to deal with the clients directly, even though they are less in the number, but their role in the project will be high. They'll be getting a good exposure because they are going to deal with the clients directly. They should have a good communication. All these things will be there in the function. but majority of the vacancies will be available in the technical. Right now, it's kind of getting equalized, like 3 and 3, something like that. So as long as you are focusing on both the areas, you will be in the safer zone or something like that. So this is how I have defined it. And uh, so this anyway we are going to discuss, because when we go for a training, so we are going to focus mainly on 2 modules, because these 2 modules itself will take us around 40 plus sessions to explain and to make you understand with every live example that we are having. So this will itself consume 40 plus sessions. So core HR and absence management, these two are the major modules which most of the companies are getting implemented right now. So as long as you know these 2 modules, with an experience of 2 to 3 years, you can easily get into a company, right? So that is the reason we are going to focus mainly on these 2 modules for next 2 months of time. And I have categorized in the functional what are all the different concepts in each module, core HR absence. Also, as a technical, what are that we are going to discuss. Technical concepts is little low because these concepts are common across different modules. So reports, all these things, as long as you know the tables, SQL concepts, all these things, you can go with any module to pick up the data. But functional setup wise, it differs from each module. So that is the reason functional have many concepts, whereas technical will have less number of concepts. Okay, so that is how our structure is going to be. Like pretty much the training is going to be like for the next 2 months, and we are going to have sessions only on the weekdays, which are from Monday to Friday, every day 1 hour, and Saturday, Sunday will be your free time to practice yourself. And sometimes I can also conduct mock interviews, because I was in the interview panel, like pretty much I took almost 50 plus interviews, right? So many people are currently still working in my company, different other companies. So I know exactly how the interview works, like what are the different sort of questions that you'll be getting in the interview. So when I take that mock interviews, so basically you will get trained with that interview experience, including, starting from your basic, introduction about yourself. So till your technical skills or functional skills, we are going to cover till the point what we have discussed so far. Let's say after 2 weeks of the training, I'm taking the mock interview. So I'll only cover the concepts what we have discussed in those 2 weeks. Okay. So with that, if we can have 2 to 3 mock interviews by the end of our training, pretty much you will be ready for your next main interviews as well. Right? Pretty much like whatever the things that we are going to discuss in the interview, most of the questions will remain same in the interviews as well. Main interviews that I was talking. Okay. So that is the reason these mock interviews will have a real impact for your main interviews as well. So that is how my training is going to be. And that's it, which I have planned for these demo sessions. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if it's an open forum. So if anyone is having anything, we can discuss.
So what was the timings in the weekday?
So mostly we might be having it in the morning itself. 8 to 9 is what I'm planning for. So that after 9, if anyone is working currently, they can go to the office so that their work day doesn't get disturbed. Right? That's what currently getting planned. But obviously we'll discuss with each one of you, understand how exactly your work day. So based on that, we can figure out a common work timings for everyone. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So if that's the case, Tirupati can stop the recording. So with that note, we can wind this session up. And then I think anyway, Tirupati is going to reach every one of you so that so you can let them know if you are interested for this training. Because right now, I'll just give an example that so you can go to your Naukri or LinkedIn or any other things. You can just try to find the vacancies currently available for Oracle Fusion. Just search with Oracle Fusion HCM roles. So you can see plenty of the roles which are getting, like which are getting hired on a daily basis. Also, when it comes to the compensation, right, with my real experience, I would say, as long as you are able to perform well and you are able to get yourself a good exposure, and for a good exposure, I will always suggest you to try for mid-level companies. So most of the MNCs, they might be, their brand will be good for you, but when it comes, in terms of their compensation or good exposure for you, wouldn't be that good when we compare with the mid-level or like small level companies, right? So that is my point of view. So if you want to get a good exposure and good increments, everything, so try to go for mid-level companies. So that will teach you so many things, right? So that is our current market trend is there are so many vacancies really available. So you can also verify that from your end and then decide yourself that if you want to go for this training session because it's really easy, not that kind of complicated concepts here and not much of a coding, which is really needed for every one of us. And it's easy, basic SQL concepts that is like basic English, which we can learn. Okay, so with that note, I'm winding it up. If anyone is interested to talk to me about anything or any clarifications, you can talk to Tirupati. He can, he'll be giving my contact to you so that you can reach out to me as well. So from then on, we can continue. So I hope I'll see you all again. And we'll decide based on the size, we'll decide on from when exactly this training is going to be getting started. All right. So thanks everyone. Have a happy Sunday. See you all. Bye-bye.